Hello everyone, Don back with another progress report on the Corsair. As you can see, I've got the cowling. Looks nice and shiny, because what I ended up doing was, after I sanded this all out, I sanded this edge good and sanded everything down, and I had to get in here and clean these edges up from this micro-balloon that I stuffed in there to fill any low voids and such. So I spent the better part of yesterday sanding on this. All I did was take a paint stick and some adhesive paper, stuck it on there, and left this side raw with no sandpaper so I could get in here without digging in to the bottom of the grooves. And then where I needed to get into the material up here, and that was smeared in there, but that stick worked good. I was able to get in there and clean up all these edges. And then after that, I took and mixed up just a straight clear coat, or not a clear coat, but an epoxy, 3-to-1 hardened epoxy, and then I just poured it on here and just squeegeed it in. And the idea of that is that's what's referred to as an epoxy wipe. So what it does is there's some, fairly heavy scratches in here from the like 80 grit paper on the sander. But when you do this epoxy wipe, it fills in all those so you can't even feel these. There's some texture to it, but it's from you can see there's little runs here. So I'll hit this with a hand sand with some like 220, I think is what I got, and that'll knock off the shine and take off any little high spots. But the idea is you're just wiping epoxy, smearing it in there, and using a squeegee. And I have a small rubber squeegee here, this little black 3M squeegee, wet or dry. This is for wet dry sanding, but you just put it on here and make it conform to it, and just drag it on there and just literally squeeze that epoxy into all those little fine scratches. And then of course it'll run and want to puddle and drip, but try to catch it, put it back in the cup. But you just keep squeezing this thing until you can get almost all that out. I mean, this really, to do it correctly, you still need to squeeze it even more than that, because you can see quite a bit of shine on there. But that's fine. Now that's just straight epoxy, and it'll sand off by hand with some 220. Sorry, dusty. So after I'd finished that, I squeegeed this all out too to try and fill in some of these. I ended up taking my little Dremel tool with a little like diamond bit on it. Got a real small bit. That thing probably a 1/16 of an inch. It's encrusted with probably like diamond material, some kind of grit. But I used that to go in here because some of these light shaded spots you see, like here, are actually air bubbles on there. So I just went in there and I just kind of zipped all of them with that little tool to break off any little bubbles. So now this has been filled with an epoxy wipe. It's got one coat in there. I'll sand this down by hand, and then I'll mix up another coat and probably throw a little bit of micro-balloons in it, and I'll do it again. And I'll let that coat set. You're supposed to all kind of do it all at one time. Do one coat, let it tack up, do another coat, let it tack up, and you just keep doing it. Some of these are fairly deep, so I'm going to mix in some micro-balloons. So after I got that all done yesterday, let it set overnight, it's nice and cured, I decided to go ahead and work on this last wingtip. Now this is all new foam. I ended up literally pretty much cutting out most of this foam. This is the top of the wing and the bottom of the wing, so it turned out very nice. This is nice and flush from the foam to the fiberglass that was cut out. So that worked good. And then where the foam literally stops right here. The new foam stops. There's a plywood rib in there, so it stops there. So this cutout around here of the cloth left the thickness of the cloth. So I mixed up this micro-balloon slurry. This is a 3-to-1 epoxy with probably close to 5 parts micro-balloons to 1 part of that epoxy. And it's like cake frosting. It's still, I just finished it, so it's still soft. But the idea is you just kind of pack it on there. 90% of that will be sanded off. The idea is just to get this edge clean and straight, because I'll lay 2 more layers of cloth on there. This is unidirectional cloth. 90% of the fibers go this way, with only 10% hold it together. So it's pretty hard material to work with. But I'll put one coat, probably just, you're supposed to overlap when you're laying this stuff up about a 1/2 inch. and then the second one will be about a ½ inch bigger than that. And then after it's done, it'll be sanded out and blended in, and then again it'll get some more slurry on there to fill in any spots. So that's done. Decided I wanted to kind of do this all at the same time. So tomorrow I'll sand that all out, and if it all looks good, then I'll mix up a small batch of slurry to fill in this foam. You got to kind of put slurry mix in this, but it's just like a 1-to-1. If you got like 1 ounce of epoxy, you put in 1 ounce of micro-ballons. It makes a real runny mix, but the idea is to get it to absorb, suck into this styrofoam. So there's still some sanding scratch marks here, but it's basically to fill the pores with epoxy, so when you put the fiberglass on there and wet it out, it doesn't wick all the epoxy out of the cloth you're trying to lay. So I'll do the bottom side first, because you'll want to kind of get it to come up around this corner, and then let that set, and then flip it over, and then do the top, so the top will roll under. You want it to roll under. You want the lip down here on the bottom edge. So that turned out pretty nice. And then, you know, all this work, I'm still going to end up coming in here and cutting out somewhere to put the lights in. So that's what I'm doing. Last week I didn't get to make a second video because I had to work on my car. Those are the lower rear trailing arms. This is the joint that was bad. You can kind of see her. It'll sit still. There's nothing on these things is flat, but here, folks. This one still ties like new. So I changed them both. They're like 80 bucks, shipped to my door. So that wasn't that bad to do. I was really expecting these bolts here to be a royal pain to get out, because you got to drop that engine cradle down to get them out, and that was the easiest part. Getting these peckers out was the hard part. There's a bushing that's in that, like a flange bearing with a tapered hole in it, and when these are upside down right now, they go in the car this way. So the one I had apart already, the right side, that was bad, I changed the wheel bearing, and so this one, it came apart easy when I started pressing it with a gear puller. This one wouldn't come apart with a gear puller, so I got pissed off. Went over with a big hammer and started beating on it, and luckily it just pounded it right out in less than a minute. But I had already heated it up the day before, and I had to quit because it started raining on me. So I had the right side apart, and that's all I had to do was get that out on the left side. Next day they came in, took a ½ hour to throw it back together. So one and done. All right, now I went to my local paint shop, which is literally right over there. Yeah, right over there. You can walk to it. And was looking for some primer. I looked up the price of the primer for Class Coat, and if I bought a quart can like this, it was, I think, $70. Yeah, $70 for this. And then you have to buy a quart of activators. It's a 1-to-1 ratio, so you end up with a ½ gallon. But you're looking at $150 just for a primer, and I only really needed a quart. If I would have bought a pint, the pints were $50, so it would have been $100 for the two. Well, this whole thing was only $50 for this. And this is it's not a epoxy, but it's epoxy-like because it uses an activator hardener, and it's a high-build sandable primer. So, and that should be more than enough to spray a coat. The only thing is that's gray. Doesn't matter. So I'll spray this inside and out with that. And then the inside don't need any sanding. I'll just if I have to, sand, but this epoxy wipe is going to pretty much take care of what I really needed that for. I'd like to get the other stuff, but I just didn't feel like spending $150 plus shipping from Florida for the Class Coat. I still do need to order the white for the bottom of the cowling for this side, so that'll still be white. And I am going to get a piece of stainless screen of some sort to put in there. I'll probably put that on the inside and maybe pop rivet it with something to hold it in there. But I'm going to leave that open. Just put a screen in there for extra cooling area. So, so that's kind of where I'm at. I went and bought some Gorilla Glue last night. This is the stuff I use to glue the foam in. And that stuff is an expanding, it's kind of like expanding spray foam. If you're familiar with the spray foam stuff. Oh, I got a couple cans of this stuff left up here I bought this to spray around the base of the garage to seal the steel siding to keep mice from working their way in, but it foams up like that stuff. You put the glue, you use little acid brushes, and you smear that on one piece, and then you take water and you spray the other piece. You stick them together and tape them, clamp them, and that stuff just swells out and just grows like that expandifoam. And it's fast. I mean, within 15-20 minutes, you can get out here and get back to sanding. But this is what it looks like when it's done. And if you leave it set for like a week, then it comes extremely hard and it's hard to sand. The foam wants to sand, but this doesn't. So you want to kind of get on it right after it's done curing, because it gets hard fast. Like here's some of it right here. And it kind of sands off fairly easy. Leaves a good finish. So, well, I think that's about all I've got to report. Like I said, because of the car last week, I had to, and that took care of the knocking. The knocking is finally gone. The little bumps going over the little washboard bumps, they call them. Several little bumps, that just enough to make that thing knock on me. So, yeah, so that's real shiny, and so I got to sand it down. But these are still divots, so by mixing up the micro-ballons, I'll mix it probably a little thicker than 1-to-1, because it'll still want to sag and run out. But the idea is mixing it up with this fast hardener, medium speed hardener. It can set up pretty quick when it's in the bowl. It says 20-25 minutes, but you'd be lucky if you get that out of it. And this is cool out too. It's only low 70s. And this is the thin stuff. It's not recommended for under 70 degrees. But I wanted more work time when I was doing the wipe, so I used the slow. They got slow, medium, and fast. I've never used their fast. Really no use for fast. But all this stuff, it just takes so much time to try and get around it that the medium was just a little too quick, even in the cool temperatures. So, but it's recommended for if you're going to be working below 70 degrees. And I think if you're going to go colder than that, they want you to use the fast. And the weird thing is the slow uses more hardener, and then the fastest uses the least amount of hardener. The slow is 2-to-1 mix, one part of this, 2 parts of that to 1 part of the hardener, 2-to-1. This medium is 3-to-1, and the fast is 4-to-1. So you're using 4 parts of that and 1 part of the hardener. So, and then the micro-ballons, again, I got that in there, and the cotton flocks is in that box. So, one more thing, I got a call on my phone when I was out driving on Wednesday, and I didn't recognize the number, so I didn't answer it. And I think it was in the morning, and then in the afternoon when I was driving, I got another one, same number, and I was like, well, they can leave a message. Turns out it was the FAA. The FAA had reached out to the local guy, Dave Milo's the one who inspected this and issued the airworthiness certificate. Well, he was retiring, and he brought a new guy with him named Randy, and Randy came out with him when he finished up the paperwork on this. So he said that the FAA reached out to him and asked him to see about getting my aircraft conditions limitations paperwork updated, upgraded, or changed, because it said it had to deal with VFR night flying. The paperwork said I could VFR daytime fly anywhere that's allowable with what I was doing, and then it had no VFR night flying, period. Could not fly at night. Even if it had recognition lights on it, it was not allowed to fly at night. So they want to change the paperwork to reflect that if you get the proper lighting on the aircraft, I can fly it VFR at nighttime. So I'm going to meet him tomorrow morning at Meadville Airport, the terminal, 9 o'clock, and I'll take the old paperwork. He's got the new stuff wrote up. He says it's in a different format than the old, so he's going to go over everything with me. But that's all it was. He just needs, I don't know how the FAA caught that, or if maybe Dave Milo, he watches my videos and seen that I was going to put some lights on it. And then he's the one that wrote it up, no night flying, just because it had no lights, but there was no language in there stating that if I was to put lightings on it, that I could fly it at night VFR. So that's all they're doing. It's not in trouble with nobody, just going to get some fresh paperwork to allow me to fly. And I'll never really fly. I doubt I'll ever fly this thing at nighttime, but it'd be nice to have, so if I go to a fly-in somewhere and I'm stay too long and coming home and it's getting dark, at least I'll have the lights to run. And I at least want to have strobes on it anyway, because it just make it stand out in the daytime, because these aircraft are designed to be, you know, kind of camouflaged in the sky. based on the colors. So, alright everybody, I guess that's going to do it. The wife, I told her to go ahead and start dinner about 15-20 minutes ago, and it's probably getting close to being done. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video now. It's already, well, it's 15 minutes long, it's not too bad. But that's all I got to report. I'll sand all this stuff out tomorrow and then get some more coating going on this, just the bottom. I don't need any more up here unless I find something after sanding out. But I'll get that sanded up, and then hopefully I should be able to do another video on Tuesday, and you should have this all fiberglassed in and trying to finish up as like I'm doing here. So, alright, as I always say, thanks for watching my videos, and feel free to leave any comments, questions, or concerns, and I will answer them as they come in, and appreciate the ones as they are. Oh, and there is another guy who's reached out to me who wants one of my spinners made, because he bought a Corsair, half-scale war Corsair, and he was like me to make him a spinner. I'm not sure where my ball is, probably inside the plane. But he's got a channel, and his name is Joe Lyons, L-Y-O-N-S. Joe Lyons is his YouTube channel. And he's got 3 different videos up of him taxiing his airplane, just like this. But he's got a Rotec R2800 7-cylinder radio on the front of it. He has the cowling off and a single 2-blade wooden propeller on it, and he's running it up and down the runway. Yeah, here, he wants me to make him this. So. The problem is I don't have any more 4-inch, so I have to buy a piece of 4-inch, and I think I got enough aluminum stock to make the other parts out of, but I've been kind of holding off on that because I got too much of my own work to do right now. But I can get the stuff started gathered up for him. But go check out Joe's. He's only got maybe 30 or so subscribers to his channel, but again, it's Joe Lyons, L-Y-O-N-S. He bought that Corsair out of Ohio, which is not very far from me, to the west. So go check him out, give him some subscribes, and see how he works out with his. So it's painted very, very similar to this, except for he's got a checkered tail and checkering around the nose cowling. He's got the 3-tone light blue, but his light blue is really light blue. But it's painted just like this, even with the red bars around the bars, stars and bars. So, all right, everybody, check him out and see if we can get him some subs and see how he does over the coming days, weeks. So he just put this channel up. Well, he had a channel, but just 3 weeks ago he posted the videos. So he reached out to me again with an email. So I decided, does he got a YouTube channel? So I found his channel. So that should be it, folks. All right, everyone. I'm going to cut her off, and I will catch you guys again, most likely Tuesday night, and should have a bunch of this wrapped up and hopefully ready for some primer on this at the very least. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for now, and I will see you again on Tuesday.